Erik Boland, New York Newsday, covers the Yankees after a day off to try to get things back on track and snap that six-game losing skid. They have a half-game lead over the Red Sox. Boston got beat last night in Kansas City, a half game on top of the Red Sox in the American League East. Erik Boland joins us from New York Newsday, who covers the Yankees. Good morning, Erik. Rodger Weiland, Chris Honorado was off. Brian Mariano, the closer, as you would probably can tell by that last name, Mariano, the closer, in studio with us this morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Rodger. Brian, how are you guys?
We're good. Do you think this is a series now? The Yankees get back on track. Whatever happened on the West Coast, a combination of the offense went a little south. Pitching certainly wasn't very good at all. Can they put this thing back together quickly?
You know, Rodger, I think they can. I mean, if you look at just the home record, I don't have it in front of me, but I think they're 21-9 or something this year at home. Most teams play significantly better at home than they do on the road. The Yankees, it's really significantly better. But, look, I mean, I think if you look at collectively that trip, and I'm not always a silver lining type of guy when looking at these things, but in this case, I will. They lost 6 games by a combined 9 runs, including 4 one-run games. So, it's not like they went out there and just played awful. They certainly had their moments where they played awful, but collectively, it really was not as terrible as the 6-game streak necessarily suggests. Again, I'm not making an argument in any way, shape, or form that it was good. And when I proposed that, what I just said to you now to Brian Cashman yesterday when I was calling him over a couple of different matters, he basically said, no, the only good thing about that trip is that it's over. So, the Yankees certainly don't look at it as a positive, but, I've seen enough bad baseball over the years to know it when I'm looking at it, and they really were not that bad out west.
Brian is, Brian. I was thinking.
It's already yelling at me, Erik.
Brian,
it's okay.
Brian Cashman. I heard Brian say, Erik, that he's still not all that concerned about Masahiro Tanaka. Do you agree with that, or what's your concern level? I mean, Tanaka again on Saturday gave up a lot of home runs.
I've been canvassing opposing team scouts whose job it is to follow the Yankees and cover the Yankees and, scout them in advance of when their organizations are playing the Yankees. And I've been doing that since the start of the season. And the one thing that I keep hearing from other scouts is how, and I've heard this phrase a couple of different ways, is that, quote, he just doesn't look like he wants to be out there and has almost zero confidence in anything that he's throwing. To me, that's the biggest concern. I mean, all the people that are trying to force some kind of an injury on him, look, the reality is that his velocity is about what it's always been. And he's been a very good pitcher the first 3 years of his Yankee career. To me, it's a crisis of confidence. The stuff I think is there. The velocity on all of his pitches is what it has been when he's been really good. There's nothing that indicates that there's any kind of an injury. Now, why is it a crisis of confidence? That's well above my pay grade, but, I can tell you the Yankees are just as confounded and confused about this as anyone else. And we've seen moments this year where he's as good as he's ever been. He had the 3-hitter in Fenway Park at the end of April, had the game where he struck out a career-high 13 against Oakland in May. We've seen some moments. And even, the games, the other night where he had, 10 strikeouts, but gave up 3 home runs. So it's fascinating to see. You can't strike out 10 guys and not have good stuff. And so, really, I guess I don't know if I'm dodging the question or not, but if I sound kind of, confused over it, it's because it's a mystery to me as it is to just about everyone else.
Erik Boland of New York Newsday joining us here on Big Board Sports. Erik, let's go back to yesterday, and we find out the news of Gleyber Torres is out for the year. He's going to get Tommy John on his left elbow. What is the significance of that to this Yankees roster right now?
Well, I think people made more of that than it really is in terms of the roster right now. He wasn't coming up anytime soon. And regardless of how many people in the media were trying to push that, he just wasn't coming up anytime soon. Now, did that mean that he was, never going to come up this year? I think he was going to come up at some point this year, and I think it was, at the very least, would have been a September call-up. And if some things had happened in terms of injury or performance issues, maybe you could have seen him sooner than that. But he was not on the Yankees' radar as coming up, in the next 2 weeks or something like that. Tyler Wade, if they needed an infielder, was first on that list. So in terms of the impact on the roster now, the answer is zero. But what this does, what the Torres injury does, is it stops his very rapid development to where the Yankees would think he was Major League ready, and it stops it cold. And it means that he goes into spring training in 2018 as a little bit of a question mark, just from the standpoint as you never truly know what you're going to get from a guy coming off of surgery until he's actually back on the field. Recovery time for an infielder, particularly when it's a non-throwing arm, recovery time is significantly less than it would be for a pitcher. So all indications are I'll be ready for spring training 2018. But his suddenly inevitable rise to the majors, which I believe would have taken place at some point this year, now that's thrown into a little bit of a question to where you say, you're not positive that's necessarily going to take place next year either.
I guess the bigger picture for me on that injury, how about no more head first slides into home plate?
Yeah, good luck on trying to actually enforce something like that. I mean, it's something that as long as I've been covering the Yankees, Joe Girardi has talked to his players about and told them he does something he doesn't want them to do. Brett Gardner comes to mind as someone that, has done it most frequently in the time that I've covered the team, and this is my 9th year now. But, we saw Aaron Judge do it the other night. It's not a Yankee problem. This is something that players all over the league do. And, the reality is, I saw some people on Twitter yesterday saying, ban the head first slide. Well, good luck getting that through the Players Association. So it's a problem without a solution, to be honest with you.
Erik, I know you're a proud native of Cleveland, but you're also really into golf. What did you make of the U.S. Open this past weekend, man? Or as you called it on Twitter, the Dean and DeLuca Invitational.
Yeah, the Open comes back to what personally is my favorite course, Shinnecock Hills next year on the far eastern end of Long Island. It's the first Open I remember watching as a kid. The 1986 U.S. Open won by Raymond Floyd out there, and I kind of fell in love. And I'm not from New York, so I never knew I was going to be coming out here at some point, to work and live. But Shinnecock Hills, hands down, has always been my favorite golf course, period. So I'm glad it's going to be back in the tri-state area next year. And I really hope the USGA, and I said this on Twitter, I hope they get back to basics. Narrow fairways, hard tabletop greens, and rough that's penal, even if you're off by, a couple of feet off the fairway. It's what the U.S. Open is. I don't know why. I think that for some reason, I think the USGA just got tired, even though over the first 90, 100 years it worked just fine for them, of getting criticized by players. But to me, that was always part of the fun of the U.S. Open, is that those players for at least 1 week looked like you and I on the golf course occasionally, because the conditions were so difficult. And I think it's unfortunate the USGA is more interested in having the players pat them on the back and say, good job, USGA, you really set up a fair golf course this year. I want it to go back to the days where the players, after day one of practice rounds, are complaining and talking about how unfair the golf course is. It's okay for that to happen just one time during the course of the golf season. And, 16 under. And forget 16 under. If Koepka had gone 16 under, but then nobody else was under par, like that happened with Tiger Woods at the U.S. Open, I think in 2000 at Pebble Beach. He finished 11, 12 under par, and the next highest score, or the next lowest score, was like 1 over or 2 over, because he just blew away the field. That, hey, what are you going to do? But when you have that many guys under par, there really is nothing separating the U.S. Open from, the Buick Classic, the Dean and DeLuca Invitational, or whatever else, run-of-the-mill tournament there is. There's nothing wrong with those tournaments, but they're not the U.S. Open.
Erik Boland, you're the man. We appreciate a few minutes. Have fun tonight with the Yankees, and I'm sure we'll be back in touch down the road.
I look forward to it, guys. Enjoyed it as always.
Thank you, Erik.